We are live. Hi, everybody. Just thought we would do a little recap from Rule Zero for those of us who are still on the internet. Thought it's, just talk to John for a little bit. We'll talk a little bit about Masculine Empowerment Network and do a Q&A. People got questions, throw it in the chat, throw a small super or something just so it gets noticed. That's always helpful. Or just ask a question or whatever, because we're just thought we'd chop it up, hang out, you know? So you're coming to the United States soon. Tell us about
Unfortunately.
that. Unfortunately, I hear.
So I'm gonna be, I don't know, man. I just try to like every time I go back to America, right? I was like, I'm gonna be positive, like I'm gonna make the best out of this. Like I'm not gonna let it get to me. I'm not gonna become grouchy, I'm not gonna be angry. And like my new high score is 5 days. After 5 days, I'm just like, I'm gonna burn this place to the ground. You know? I don't know, man. I don't know. Like the quality in life in Japan is just so high for me.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
I can walk down the street and wear a Rolex that's $120,000 and not have to worry about some fucking hoodlum coming to fucking rob me or some dumb
Me
bitch.
too, though.
Huh?
I have my watches, and I walk down
Yeah,
the street.
but
I'm also
you're
armed.
yeah, that's the difference. And in addition to that, too, like if you were to go out drinking at night, you would take it
Yeah.
off. You know what I mean? In Japan, I could go anywhere, any
Right.
hour of the night. I can go out, have a good old time. No one's gonna rob me. No one's gonna like come and ask me my political affiliations. You know,
Right.
they're just living life out here. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah. I mean, you do have to like being, to because I have a son here, and
yeah,
that keeps me in the United States.
yeah,
You do have to like build your circles and social circles to kind of insulate yourself from all of that other bullshit you're talking about. If you're just, if I was visiting like you, hanging out in Miami or, you know, LA or something like that, I mean, yeah, you're just going to get exposed to all this bullshit. And it's like, but like for me, like I got my place here, I got a lake, I got a community here of they're normies, right? They're not like all like, oh, understanding sexual dynamics like what we talk about, but
mhm,
they're fine people. They do stuff and you insulate. They're not like these lunatics that you run into in the bigger cities in the streets. And then when I do go to Detroit, I know where I'm going. I got VIP set up, or I got memberships places. I got places to where like they treat me at a higher level than somebody off the street. And you have to develop that or you're going to have a bad time. You just are. Yeah.
yeah.
And
I mean,
Japan, not so much. It's what it sounds like.
I mean, yeah. What I've noticed too when I went back to America, the people that were the happiest were the people that had families and kids. I don't think
Right.
America is good for single people anymore. I really don't.
Well,
Like
definitely lowest. It's the hard. It's pick up on hard mode. If you're a single guy here, the women here are very trashy
it's the
comparatively.
it's the hardest place for the crappiest prize, you know, compared to what you have to do overseas to get like but like no, I don't know, man. Like I'm spoiled over here with with Japanese women, but that's
Right.
because
Right.
Japanese dudes get such a bad rap around the globe. But these dudes keep their pimp hand like super strong, and
Right.
Japanese culture in general, they keep each other extremely accountable.
Right.
Like accountability is built into the culture, you know, from
Yeah.
age 4 when they start in like the preschool, they start
Right.
holding people accountable. They start giving them assignments. It is your
That's a
assignment.
interesting because that's I remember knowing about that about
Mhm.
people, my friends who were
Hmm.
Asian, but particularly Japanese are very almost too hard in some ways. But I mean,
Can you be
maybe
too
better
hard?
in that way.
Can you be
You
too
can
hard?
be. You can be a little too hard. I feel like there's always extremes. I mean, it depends. I feel like that's a better problem to have though
Yeah,
than no accountability,
yeah.
and
Because
and yeah,
when I was teaching, I was an elementary school teacher for a while, right? And so they what they do in elementary school is the elementary school ladies bring batches of the components of lunch. So they'll bring like, for example, a big pot of stewed potatoes, a big pot of chicken, a big pot of lettuce, and a big pot of fruits. They roll it in on a cart, and the children that are 5 years old, the schools are typically 30 students per classroom, right? And they divide the children based upon teams of six. So there's 5 teams of 6, and they're like, all right, team one, it's your turn to serve lunch to everybody in the classroom. And then they come through, and these 5-year-olds serve lunch. And if they make a mistake, or if they move too slow, or lunch is late, the teacher holds them accountable at a young age. They're like, team one, listen, everybody's waiting on you. Like, you guys need to get it together. They have to put on gloves, they have to put on masks, they put on hairnets, they put
Right.
on aprons, and they know the procedure: getting ready, serving, and then collecting the dishes after, and then putting it on the little cart and putting it in the hallway so that the lunch ladies can come pick up the food. And all the classes do this, but from 5 years old, that's when they start them with accountability. And that's why
Yeah.
this nation is it's like a well-oiled machine. Have you been to Japan?
No, you got to come visit, man.
No.
I'm gonna visit. When now is it? How are like is wintertime a bad time to visit? Good time? And what do you think? What's the
Well,
best
you're
time
from
to visit?
Michigan, you'll be all right.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Oh,
I would say the best times to visit are spring, summer, and fall. I'm from Florida, so I hate winter no matter
yeah,
what.
yeah.
You
Usually don't
know?
want to visit a place unless I'm camping in it or some doing some winter sports, like right.
No.
No. So I'll maybe spring, dude. Maybe spring. I'll come visit you.
But
You know.
and then women here are extremely traditional. And another thing I'll notice is this, right?
Yeah.
American women are just like littered with a myriad of fucking mental problems. Um,
It's
when
true.
I when
I
I have
wish it weren't true. You know.
when I have sex with Japanese girls over here, these girls orgasm more frequently than the girls I
Yeah.
fuck in America.
Yeah.
It's because I really believe they're like kind of in tune with themselves
Right.
sexually in a positive way. Like, America is very hyper sexualized. You know what I mean?
Right.
And
But yeah, there's sexual dysfunction problems, especially among not just guys. I mean, a lot of guys have it. A lot of
mhm,
women have it though too.
mhm,
A lot of women that some of the women with the biggest notches and very promiscuous behavior. I mean, there are women I've been with and women I'm cool with. Like they're not even. I'm not dogging on them. It just that was just what they were conditioned to do, and that's what they were doing. They had trouble orgasming. You know what I
mhm,
mean? I would help them through that problem. but really, they was like they were having frequent sex, but not actually a lot of intense experiences. It was more of a self-esteem boost. It was the whole thing that would be wrapped up into it. Like, oh, went to a music festival and met this cute dude and feel good about myself and sleep with this guy or whatever, random guy. But she's not having these top tier sexual experiences with these people.
mhm,
And I think that's what a lot of guys don't even realize when they're looking at women and their notches and their experiences. It depends on the girl, depends on what happened, but a lot of them though, they're not out there just like having these great experiences. They're just having frequent experiences that boost their self-esteem because, oh, a guy wants me. You know what I mean? But
mhm,
they're not like, oh man, I've, had several orgasms. It was, very intense or crazy. And
mhm,
and this is why they don't bond too, right? Because
mhm,
the more intense the experience, the more intense of an oxytocin dump they're going to get to create a bonding with that person. And so if they're sleeping with random dudes that they don't trust, right? They don't, because to a woman, there's a sexual openness requires her to have a level of trust, at least for her own safety. You know what I mean? Whether
mhm,
it's psychological, emotional safety or safety, physical safety, safety after the fact, consequences, things like that. And so if a girl's sleeping with somebody and she just has to feel like, she's the consequences are not going to be worse than the rewards. And in a sense of safety,
feel
because
like
she's being the, what do you call it? The more submissive, more weaker sex. She's putting herself more at risk than we are as guys when she sleeps
mhm,
with somebody. And so there's a level of being protective of herself, and then she has to let that protection go in order to enjoy and be immersed in the sexual experience. Well,
Mhm.
if she's sleeping with random dudes and just kind of doing, and she doesn't trust the guy, she doesn't like them that much, but whatever, she doesn't have to have that emotional attachment, any of those things. Yeah, she's protective. So how intense is that experience going to be for her? She's not able to reach that, pinnacle of intensity, really. With few exceptions, obviously, certain porn girls and those types, differences, right? They just like they can suspend that part of their brain. Usually it's the oxytocin parts, I think, are more or less polluted or damaged. So they can have the experience without any of these oxytocin. But that's a very rare, rare small percentage.
Not necessarily a good thing for anybody
No,
who wants
it's
to
not good.
have
It's
a
actually
yeah.
really bad.
Actually,
Yeah.
yeah, I was about to say that sounds good. That's actually pretty bad. Um,
No, really bad. Yeah, because then they can't bond sexually. So if they're in a relationship, and you see this with porn stars a lot, you
yep.
know, they get in a relationship. He usually is kind of like the friend. It's like their friends, like their buddies. He ends up being like a beta dude, and people are like, this girl's getting like railed out by super Chad porn stars. How is
Mhm.
she settling with nice guy, gamer guy with a little bit of status, and she kind of has all this control? Like, what's going on there? Well, what's going on there is she doesn't bond sexually.
Yep.
Doesn't mean she doesn't bond. Doesn't mean it doesn't mean she doesn't love the guy, but sex is not a mechanism of bonding for her. It
Yep.
can't be when she does it for work.
Like,
So
here's case in
yeah.
point here. I just put it up on the share for you.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Add that thing.
Are you familiar with this?
Oh yeah. Yeah, a little bit.
That's her husband. They're divorcing now, but
Of course they are.
as soon as I knew, like as soon as I saw this guy getting married to her, I just knew like this dude is simp of the year. Like
Of
you
course.
could just tell like she's above
Yep.
him. This is
Oh
her
yeah.
little pet. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
if you guys don't know, this is
Right.
Mia Khalifa. She's a porn star, and yeah, she cannot pair bond. This is
No.
this I could look at a guy's eyes and see that he's blue pilled, that he doesn't get it. And this guy,
I know, right?
you know what I mean?
They have
He,
that look of innocence and victim about them.
yeah.
Like they're just gonna. Oh man. Well, yeah, and you can look like even where the eyes are. Like
Mhm,
it's a small assessment, but her eyes are always looking outward. His
mhm,
eyes are generally, I mean, this is a posed photo, but in the
mhm,
the more candid photos, he's either looking at her, looking at the dog, or,
mhm,
and she's not even looking necessarily at the camera. Oftentimes it's just looking out into space,
mhm.
like
I
I
just don't
need,
I don't get guys who think like this is a good idea to marry a porn star, you
no,
know?
they don't get it either, but they don't understand. It's like they've been told to suspend this idea that notch counts don't matter. They've been told that they need to suspend that. And they've been told that, you know, oh, it's fine. It doesn't matter. It's like, no, dude, everything has a consequence. And I'm not saying, guys should, shame a chick who made some decisions, but it's just a fact, man.
I
Like
am.
it's just a fact. Yeah. I mean, it's because I do know that there's a lot more research that needs to be done. So I'm not going to be like completely, what do you call it? I'm not going to overstep what the
Mhm,
research says, but I
mhm,
mean, and I know there's individual differences. I know I've met the girls who are capable of bonding, but it's not even just the bonding though that can create the problem. It's also the patterns of behavior. Like relationships are difficult. If they weren't, people would stay together. Like to be in like a pair bonded situation till you're 100 years old with somebody. That's not an easy task. Otherwise, people would be doing it with a lot easier. You know what I mean? When be reporting happiness, it's only like 10 to 15% of people that end up happy at the end of a 20, 30-year relationship. And actually, when they do the study, it's only 8 years that they look at it, and they're either divorced, broken up, wanting to, cheating. Like there's so many things going on and just reporting on happiness in their relationships. So to be actually happy, excited about your partner, and to have that bonded situation long term, it's totally doable, but it's a small percentage. And so it takes work. And
mhm,
if these girls are practicing behaviors that are short term mating, discarding behaviors, just being discarded by men and discarding men. That's what they're practicing. That is what their default mechanisms are, and their argument styles and their ways of handling problems and all those things that you have to have in order to last a long time. That's you know, they get some bad feelings, or we're like, oh, well, screw him, I'm going out with my girls and whatever, I'm gonna ghost him for a couple days, or oh, he's being an idiot, so like, get this ego about him. And that's a very westernized thing, to bring it back to Japanese women.
Mhm.
The accountability is a big part of being able to last in a lasting relationship. It's not just the bonding feelings, it's the ability to stick around and manage it. Because when they have bonded feelings, or when they have high feelings for someone, anxiety happens and all kinds of other things happen that they have to manage. Conflicts happen, they have to manage the conflicts. A Japanese girl who's came from a good family probably has better conflict management skills than the average American girl, and that's just a fact.
Yeah, because the thing is, and I had to learn this too because I was raised by a single mom, and I didn't have a method to study, you know what I mean? I didn't have
Right.
somebody to understand, like, "Oh, this is how, like, you know, this is how you have a problem. This is how you solve it." Because a lot of people, they think, like, because the biggest problem with, oh god, I'm sounding old. The biggest problem with generation is a bunch of fucking quitters.
Yeah,
You
no,
know what I
that's
mean?
right. Women
A
and men.
Men
That's right.
and women, bunch of
Oh, no, it
fucking
got
quitters.
hard, I'm gonna break up. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. These
Oh,
women
okay.
think the perfect man is at the end of another dick they shove inside themselves, and each and every
Yeah.
dick that they put inside themselves, it just makes them more crazy, more
Mhm.
fucked up, and more bullshit that the next guy has to deal with, strategically lowering her percentages of success moving forward because relationships have problems. People are fucked up. And
Oh, yeah.
you are two imperfect people coming together trying to make this whole fucking psychotic existence called life work before we all
Mhm.
die and perish forever. You know what I mean?
Oh,
So
yeah.
you can't go through life burning bridges and treating people like they're these replaceable objects and expect to
Yep.
have a good outcome. And that's
Right.
what they're doing. And that's why they're fucking miserable.
But that's what strong, independent women do, you see? They don't need no man, they don't need anybody, they're super strong, they're masculine. They can, they don't need to have put up with anything or be bonded to anyone. Well, of course, that's a recipe for disaster. And in the biggest, some of our biggest I think some of the worst thing with a lot of these women who do these kinds of things are their friends, because their friends are miserable and unhappy too, and their families.
Yep.
They'll tell the girl as soon as there's some trouble, right? It's like the fact that she's bonded to the guy, and the fact that she's got a lot of good things going with that guy doesn't register. She has no gratitude or appreciation for that. And that's a thing you see too, is a lack of gratitude, a lack of
Yeah.
appreciation. You know what I mean? If I go right now, pick up a girl from, let's say, Ukraine right now, just like had to flee your damn country, she's going to have a lot of gratitude, man, for the little things I do, how the little ways that I might treat her. Like the amount, I mean, of course, now she could be all damaged and screwed up. I'm not saying every girl, right? But if I'm going to take a statistical probability, there's more girls in that situation who'll have a lot more gratitude for a guy who's in that top 1 to even 10 or 20%, that treats her decent. Even if there's problems, even if there's things that go on, even if there's conflicts, right? Like, appreciating all of the things that person has to that person brings to you, overcomes, makes you want to overcome these conflicts and these problems.
Yeah.
And some of the biggest conflicts and problems, you can overcome them if you have gratitude and appreciation, love, care for the other person. But they're practicing and training not having that. They're literally training not having care for the other person. And it's absolute disaster, because then their friends also implement this a mindset of replaceability. Oh, girl, you could do better than him, he's a dick, this, that, and other. You know what? You probably can't. A lot of times you can't. There are so many situations, women that I've had in sessions and counseled, as well as women that I've been with, which is a weird thing sometimes, because I've had even girls who are casual. I've had countless times where they've contacted me and they said, well, they're with a boyfriend, they're with a husband, they've been a number of years, and they're like, Yeah, it works for now, but I mean, we had a better connection. Like, I really wish that, we could be together, but sometimes life doesn't work out that way. And they're settled with this guy. And
Mhm.
unfortunately, that guy has probably no idea. And, they're just making it work. It's a sad situation. And it's like, if you have the opportunity to, if the women have the opportunity, and guys, too, but really women have the opportunity to capture that best dude for them, and work it out and not quit. They should really prioritize that, because it's not a good prognosis. It's pretty insane. I'm going to ramble a little bit. I have another point, but I'll talk
Go
about
ahead,
it later. What's
ramble
up,
away.
John?
Let me hear
What's
Fitch.
it.
going on? Hey, there's a comment in the comment section right there. It's the men's department, unvaccinated, right? It says dark out there for the choice of modern women we have. They're all mostly leftist. There you go.
Mhm.
Fat, hardcore feminist orgs. All right. Well, there
Not
are
in
a
Japan, though,
lot of
apparently.
bad
Yeah, so we're
choices
gonna
out
have to
there.
move.
But the thing is, if you build it, they will come. Right?
Yeah.
If you build it, they will come. If you lead those same women that preach all that garbage, they will throw it away. They will
Yep.
throw it away if a strong man comes through and shows leadership, because they will find comfort, they will find safety, they will find all of those things that they think they're finding somewhere else with you. All right.
Yep.
Now, it really does. It sucks, but the burden of performance is on you as a man.
Mhm.
The better
Yep.
you perform, the more you are leading, the better those women are going to react. You're going to
That's
find
right.
somebody who maybe was a leftist, maybe grew up as a leftist, maybe is surrounded by leftists. But when
Well, she'll
you
abandon the
lead
old
her,
framework to be
when
in
you
yours.
show them, yeah, she
Yep.
will abandon all of that, because she will find that thing that she's looking for in you and your actions. And then
Yeah.
the big battle you're going to have is her complaining about all of her old friends and family members talking about how much of an asshole you are because you don't believe in the leftist bullshit.
John, remember
Yeah.
when we were, or not, sorry, John, Paul, remember when we were doing the abortion episode when the Roe v. Wade, Ho
yeah.
v. Wade was going on? And that one guy was like, well, I'm dating my girlfriend and she's stomping around the house, losing her mind about this decision. And
Right.
the thing is, once I heard that, I knew that this guy didn't have frame in the relationship.
Right.
Your woman, if you're doing your relationship right, your woman is going to become more like you. Okay. Every girl that I fucking start dating inevitably starts going to the gym, starts cooking at home more, starts studying more, starts investing in cryptocurrency, starts getting rid of her loser friends, starts cleaning up the way she talks, acting more like a lady, being more feminine, having more presence, having more good mental health practices.
Right.
Because that's what I do. I demand it. I straight up demand it. You are not allowed to be a loser around me. You are not. You will take that loser energy. You will fuck off elsewhere. And that's how
Yeah.
I run
Right.
my ship.
Because it'll affect you.
Yeah.
That's the thing. If you let that be around you, then that sort of you now have a alternate narrative and framework to fight against, which is this person's really negative, more or less, framework. And that's not good. You don't want to bring people, especially somebody who's gonna be like, a girl in your life, that's actually you're not just having sex with her, but you're not just having sex with her like casual sex and I see her a couple times a month or whatever. You're like, she's over all the time. You're doing stuff together. Yeah, that her mindset will rub off on you. So she either needs to comply and change to a different mindset, or you need to drop her off, because that's the other aspect of it. Yes, I agree with my good friend John Fitch here. You build it, they will come. That being said, though, you have to spend some time though vetting out and making sure, because it's going to be a smaller percentage of women hiding amongst all the other ones that aren't capable. And some of the other ones will throw it at you a lot harder, especially if you're a valuable guy, because they know that this is what I need to do to get you. So they're in a framework of manipulation and trying to snag, and versus being in a protective framework because they understand their value and their worth as a woman. And so a lot of times, guys, they end up with a girl who's not a good match and not really capable of being a good partner, even when she tries. And you'll run into this where, like, the framework in the beginning, she'll be there, and then she'll just fall apart as soon as, she has uncertainty, or there's a conflict, or maybe you screw up. That's something that happens. As men, we make mistakes. You have to be with somebody who can be forgiving of things and look at the bigger picture and be grateful for what you do, and not that you would expect her to stay with you if you make a catastrophic mistake that you repeat and continue to do. But, making a mistake and then you're like correcting it, you need a woman that can handle that, and still have that framework, because she's gonna make mistakes too. Now, hopefully they're not catastrophic ones, but she's gonna screw something up. She's gonna get an attitude with you, or handle an argument terribly, or do something she shouldn't. And we're not talking catastrophic, like, oh no, I just, banged like 3 dudes at my work on accident. We're not talking about that crazy stuff. We're talking about, other stuff that she might do that just like, she needs to fix it, right? You got to give her, you got to be patient, let her fix it. But some of these girls won't do that. So you have to make sure you are picking a good match, which means taking your time, especially if you're in the United States.
Yeah.
You gotta be quick with that next.
Yes.
You gotta be quick.
Yep.
It's compliance or no. Compliance or next.
Well, and what's interesting, I'll kind of illustrate this. What I am sort of illustrating with my guys on my mastermind too, is that, especially as it's more of a high status guy, like all you guys, everyone here has some level of status. I'm probably the lowest status guy right now in the conversation as far as recognizable stuff. John Fitch, you're definitely the most recognizable person when you go out. You know what I mean? People know your background and stuff, and
people see me beat people up in my underwear.
Yeah, exactly. And people, right? I mean, I've, definitely I watch that in my ceiling. My television's on my ceiling at night, but but yeah, dude. Like, it's like when you're a higher status and you have, even if, I'm just high status and people don't necessarily recognize me all the time, but the fact that I do well in life makes me just a catch for a chick, right? So now I'm this catch when they recognize that that's the case. Well, there's a concept of putting people on neutral, what I call. And so like you have girls, that are sort of orbiting around, you meet them, different things, maybe a cold approach, maybe you went on a date or whatever, and she's not really in compliance, or not seeming, maybe showing some red flags, different things. There's hard nexting, or putting them, the rejection, right? Where you have to reject them. And that's going to be a certain percentage. The large bulk, you just kind of put neutral. You just withdraw your attention, withdraw your time, give some space, and just focus on other women that, instead of being a neutral, you're accelerating, So like, let's say you go on a couple dates, one had a bunch of flags, some things you didn't like, another one went well. You don't have to do a big next and rejection. You just kind of like put her in neutral and see how she's going to respond to your absence, while you focus on, the other girl, or focus on your work and forget about girls, right, for a minute, or do whatever you're going to do and see how she responds. Because a girl that is emotionally bought in, has higher desire for you, and is willing to try and capable of making changes, if something is a bunch of flags, and what, she's going to qualify to you, she's going to reach out to you, she's going to try to get you into your presence. You know what I mean? And then you get to be the selector. It's an interesting concept, because guys are used to not being the selectors. Guys are used to having the women have to select them. They have to go for the girl, and she has, 100 guys going for her that week, and then she has to try to select. But if you're a higher value dude and you put yourself in that position, you become the selector. And that's an interesting position to be in, really is. But guys, so many guys out there actually in a good spot to be a selector, where they can, they have girls that are around them they could pick and drive forward, and they're not. They're instead qualifying the girls. They're instead trying to get to a girl and putting her in the position of selecting versus flipping it around. You know what I mean? That makes any sense. But
yeah, I don't know. It's for me at this point in my life, I could not even see myself living in a relationship where it's not my way. You know what I mean? I've been the selector for the longest time now. And it's always been like that. But the thing is, a big reason why these girls are so miserable is because nobody is really giving them proper guidance.
Right.
And they're going throughout their entire life, you know, being told that this way of the boss bitch, the strong independent woman, all that stuff is the way to go. And the only reason they haven't found a good guy to support them in their ideology is because all men are trash, and the majority of men are trash, and finding a good man is hard for you. And that's all you got to do. That's just basically, you figured it out. All men are shit, and welcome to your struggle, girl.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, and that's the narrative. I mean, unfortunately, for them to be a good partner, they have to be able to surrender to a relationship and submit to a man. And the man, okay, has to be able to surrender to the relationship as well, but lead the woman. So that's the two different concepts. You know what I mean? Surrendering to the relationship means that, okay, the relationship that we have, the structure that we have, I'm no longer going to protect myself and try to overly game. Of course, you're always communicating and persuading, you know, in a way, but you're not trying to manipulate yourself around in your own relationship because you're afraid she's going to leave, or you need to protect yourself from her effing you over, or any of that kind of stuff. Like, you get to a point now, it has to be a girl that you can have this level of trust with, where you just give all that shit up. You know that your abilities and your skills plus the person that you've picked are going to keep you safe. Yeah. Even if she does go to screw you over, that happens, you are able to be kept safe because you make smart decisions in your leadership role. You're not an idiot. You know what I mean? You create good boundaries. You create good safety nets for yourself. So it's not some situation where you're getting like divorce raped and stuff like that. What's the worst thing that can happen? The worst thing that can happen is she hurts your feelings and she's out the door. You know, and so you can really relax and just be with a person and let her be with you. But the problem is too, though, is that if she can't do it and you can't do it, or if one person doesn't surrender, it creates an immediate protective thing. So let's think about fighting for a minute. This is right up John Fitch's alley here, right? So if everyone's chill and one guy comes in the room and he's aggressive, even if he's on alert, he's looking at people like sizing everybody up. What is every other person in the room going to do? Start getting a little bit of tension, right? What's up with that dude? Okay, now they're sizing him up. You see what I mean? Because as social animals, we're designed to protect ourselves and respond to each other socially and respond to each other's mental, emotional states just based on body posture and, voice vibrations and all kinds of stuff. And so as soon as somebody comes in with an anxiety or a conflict or a protective mode, right? It puts everybody else in a protective mode. Even if you are very, in good control of yourself, some part of you is still going to be there, even though you may be like, all right, man, like he's just in a bad mood. He's not going to do anything. You can chill yourself out. Maybe you're like a top tier fighter here, like Mr. Fitch, and you're not worried about not getting, beat up or anything, but even as such though, there's this part of you cannot help it. It's physiological. Well, it's the same in the relationship, man. Like if she can't surrender to the relationship and she's on guarding herself, manipulating communication, playing, you cannot, even if your game is fine and you are secure with yourself, a small part of you is going to have your own barriers up. You know what I mean?
The rules.
Right. And so this is where if she wants your leadership and she wants to be able to trust you, she has to actually submit to you. And that's the trick. How many women want to submit to the man right now nowadays? Not too many.
Yeah. The whole idea of making your man happy has been really poo-pooed on. Like doing something specifically just for your man so he's happy and comfortable is not allowed in the STEM circles.
Right. Right. For sure, man. It's like you guys gotta let's think about it. Like when you show up and you're just dating somebody and there's no care for a future necessarily, you're just, learning about the person, enjoying that person, start banging somebody. There's no pressure, right? You're not worried about what she's doing when she's not around you because there's low investment. She's not worried about what you're doing. You're not looking at analyzing things she says and going, oh, what did that mean? And this, that. You're just seeing her, banging her, leaving her, and then sending her on her way. And hopefully she comes back if you liked her, right? That's it. Well,
They like
guys
they
need to
really
take
like you. They will fight their way back in.
Yeah.
Oh, of course. Yeah. And that's what
They
you
will
want.
make reasons to see you. They'll be like, oh, you know what? They will like, dude, it just happens all the time. She happens to me to this day, bro. Sometimes I send one of these girls home, like, get out of here, go home. She's like, oh, I forgot my makeup bag. I'm like, oh, like, you're a girl and you forgot your makeup bag. Like,
Right.
the only one.
I got a good one for you, Sean. Right? This girl I dated maybe 4 times. Okay. Ghosted her because she was a feminist, complaining about wage disparity, whatever. She was bossy, like just not gonna work. So Joe moved on, nexted her, no problem. Like 6 months later, like she sent me a few texts every couple of months, whatever. 6 months later, she tries to set up a seminar for me. Right? She's like tries to put me in contact with somebody close in a gym or whatever. She tried to set up a seminar to try to pull me back in to like her circle. 6 months later, nothing. I haven't said one word to her. And then like a week or two ago, I got another 6 months later. It's been like a year since I've even seen this person or said anything to him. Still sending me text messages.
Right.
I miss you. I'm a little bit drunk. I miss kissing you. I've been on a lot of dates this past year. Like,
is this the one that was like that moved away that we talked about?
No. This is a girl who this is just like a super like she's just plugged in feminist type. She was complaining about our first date. She was complaining about the wage gap and talking about her job and degree. And I was just like,
I hope you washed your wiener after you got done with her. You got to give it. Listen, I kind of stole this, but I give the credit to John. You got to give your girlfriend the John Fitch girlfriend test, right? This is the official John Fitch girlfriend test. You give them a mop and a bucket. It's like, I got you this mop and a bucket for a present. And if she's not happy, get rid of her ass. You know what I mean? Because that's what John said he did for his current girlfriend.
Yeah,
Now
I got her a mop and a bucket. She asked me about, because my mop is a little bit old and beat up. And then my bucket, I would left it out in the sun. It got brittle and it broke. So I don't have a mop. She's like, oh, I can't clean your floors if you don't have a mop and a bucket. So we went to Lowe's and I got a mop and a bucket like my dad had, because she loved my dad's mop. Right. So I got her the same model of mop as my dad had when we went back to Indiana. And like I got her that, and she's just like, she was so happy and excited. Like I gave my ex diamond earrings, like bracelets, ring, like all kinds of shit. And like she never had the level of excitement about any of those gifts that my girl now got excited about a mop and a bucket.
That's hilarious.
And that's nothing. The real prize was I got her a crock pot.
Oh wow.
And now she's like super excited. She's learning all these recipes. She's cooked me dinner the last 3 nights. Like she's cooking short ribs tonight for me and the boys. Like,
yep.
Crazy.
So
I'm in here doing podcasts with you, and she made breakfast for me, and then now she's getting dinner ready.
Yeah, so that's a demonstration of gratitude, really. So here you are, with a thing. You have one woman who you're doing all this other stuff for, and she has an entitled mindset, and she's not being a good partner, right? And then this other person is grateful for a damn mop bucket. You know what I mean? And so that's 2 things. That's one is her desire for you is a big part of that. Right? I mean, women are pragmatic in how they approach their social situations.
She wants family. She really wants family.
Right. So she wants it with you, right? Yeah. It's desire for you. And that's a big component. This is why the frame and desire is so important. But the other part is she is probably a grateful person and not an entitled person in general. So there's got to be a quality that she has that she brings, because she isn't always going to be in desire of you. Some days, tell her no, get in a little, she gets frustrated with you, which will happen if you're in any relationship.
Oh yeah.
She might not like you that day, but she's still going to be grateful for who you are and all those things, because that's who she is. And that's the thing about vetting somebody. You can't just vet them for desire. You got to vet them for actually who they are and what, you know what I mean? What they bring to the table. I have like no control over my chat, by the way. So just FYI, we have trolls up the ass in there.
Yeah,
So,
someone's like trying to say Rolo got the beer bug. Like if this is some kind of
I don't,
insult,
I,
or I don't know what that's
I
all
don't
about.
know. This
Fill the
guy
chat, or
has,
maybe they're trying to get you banned because you're talking about the boop boop and the sickness, and that's always a
I
touchy.
don't know. This guy, he was doing it in Troy's channel too. I don't get it. I wonder. I mean, I sound a little weird, but I wonder if there's some disabilities going on. Trying to be,
Probably.
you know what I'm saying? Like for real.
That's the thing that a lot of people don't understand is how stupid some people really are. Like there's this thing on I don't know if it was on Netflix or Hulu or whatever. There's a series called like the something six, like about the story where these people killed this old lady, and there's all these like lies, and they found out later it wasn't those people and they were incarcerated wrongly, but they all admitted to it. But you see the interviews, you see how these people talk, like they're below 90 on their IQ score.
Yes.
Like they're just and like a lot of people do not understand. People think that everybody's as smart as they are. Everybody's at least on their level. Bro, like I've been teaching and instructing people for 30 years or more. It's not that way. Some people are just really dumb. They're really dumb. And they could be a great athlete. They may understand how to do the technique, but they will never contemplate the why. Like, why I use this. They can just do the thing. And man, like until you've really worked with people, I think being in a service industry, you know, like bouncing and working door and bartending type stuff, you see that too, because you'll be like, oh wow, some people are just really stupid. Like they're a step above chimpanzee.
Yeah. No, that's a very true statement. And it's that's probably the hardest thing to accept, really, dealing with women or dealing even with other people you're trying to help, or other, it's like people there's a capabilities issue, whether it's intelligence or whether it's, just, emotional damage, trauma, and psychological issues that they have to overcome in order to accept or do what you're trying to tell them to do, or whatever it is. You know what I mean? Some people some of the most tragic situations, in my opinion, were some of the women that I had been with who had personality disorders, so all, so several hundred women. No, I'm just kidding. No, but there's so like all of them, dude, it's tragic. No. Well, no. So like there's two in particular I can think about who definitely have a personality disorder, and they, once the harm, because I did not just do that once, I had to do that twice, right, in my life. Once the harm that they caused me, like I'm over that, it goes away. It's kind of like, damn, like it's a tragedy, it's a tragedy, because this person cannot help but harm themselves in every relationship they get into. They actually can't help it. They can't help it. Like they're so damaged, and it's a psychological issue that they have based in both genetics as well as things that happen in their upbringing to epigenetically trigger these traits. And they can't even see the problem to be able to fix the problem. Like they can't actually see the problem. Everyone around them can see it. People will tell them all different ways, and they can't see it. And then they tragically destroy their lives and destroy other people's lives who would let that happen as well, which is also another tragedy. So it's a sad scenario, man. It's like you have to accept, like, some people, dude, they're not going to get it. They're not capable. You can't help them. Right, you can't save them all, right? And that's it. And that's. But once you accept that, though, it helps you walk away from, certainly, from girls who are not good for you. For you guys who are in the chat who get tied up in that, that's a lot of guys, man.
Yeah, I love it though. I've just become such like I don't know if this is the correct word. Let me Google it before I use it.
John needs a thesaurus.
Let's see. Oh no, I've just become such like, I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for? What BDSM, the one that enjoys other people's sadist.
Oh, a sadist?
Sadist?
Yeah. Oh. I've become such a sadist and just watching these women ruin their lives. I just like I literally I could just open up like a box of popcorn and just sit there and just watch this shit. Like,
well, there is a little entertainment to it, because it's Well, it's particularly if you didn't know the person personally, it's not personalized. It's definitely
Train wreck. Who doesn't
entertainment.
want to watch a train wreck?
Yeah. Well, because they're
Fight breaks
blowing,
out in the shopping mall. Everybody's gonna stop and look.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They're doing it to themselves. And there's a level of justice to that, because how many people have they harmed in their life with their behavior and their bullshit? Right? Like a whole bunch. You know what I mean? And so like I don't necessarily have pity for them, and sometimes it is comical to watch them burn, so to speak. Watch them hit 35, 36 years old and be on TikTok crying about guys that ghost them now, knowing of whatever, when they've made all these bad decisions with men up to that point. They're toxic people anyways. They're not going to be good partners. You can tell by the way that they behave. And it's like, yeah, that's good that you're sad. You know what I mean? Finally, after a decade and a half of, destroying, not destroying necessarily, but harming dudes around you, with your behavior and harming your friends and family.
Harming your children and their future.
Yeah.
Dude,
Children. Yeah. Holy shit.
The ghost of Dick Miss Pass always comes back to haunt them, baby. The ghost of Dick Miss Pass. He will sneak in and ruin the relationship. I was talking to Allie, right? I love Allie.
Yeah.
She's a real sweetheart. But she had Ryan on, and then one of these clips was like Ryan was like saying, guys don't care about your body count. I was like, listen, this is bad advice. Like, this is, even the most blue-pilled simp absolutely cares about a girl's body count.
Well, we don't care for just banging them and partying with them.
Exactly.
Well,
so
also though, blue pill simps, like I do believe that they've conditioned themselves so much that they have to take whatever they can get. So they really believe that they're so lucky that they got this girl, even though she's been look at those guys who married porn stars.
Oh yeah.
There's been another number of guys in the past who have like married porn stars, and they thought,
we're talking about that earlier before you got on. Yeah,
she's so amazing. I'm so lucky to have her.
Yeah.
Right.
But,
well, here's
I get where Ryan's coming from, because like there's this attitude of like, oh, we're gonna show those women, we're gonna make them pay for what they've done or some bull crap. But it's not it. It's they're gonna be fine. They're gonna keep making mistakes, and there's always gonna be some white knight to save them.
Right.
They're not going to be happy. They're going to keep screwing up their life and other people's lives around them. But there's always going to be someone there for them to lean on. Always.
Right.
It's not like,
that harms them.
They're not going to turn into men. They're not going to be on their own. And like, if you're a man who can't produce or make anything or create anything, like you end up homeless and broken.
Tell you what, guys.
I agree, but the point I'm trying to make is that if they did have a choice, they would prefer a woman with low body count. And the point I'm ultimately trying to
necessity and a virtue.
Right. And the point I'm ultimately trying to make is this: American women lead with their sexuality and their sexual acts. That's what they lead with, right? And that's the equivalent of a man leading with his wallet. Okay. It's the lowest ROI. Like, guys pay for casual sex with their time and money. Women pay for casual sex with their soul, and you can't get that back. Like, there are consequences for your actions. Like, you could find, like, if you're a younger girl, like say in your late 20s, you have a 50+ body count, you might be able to find like some 40-year-old guy or some like fucking simp that will be able to take you in under his wing, and kind of like, he'll cherish you. But that damage that she's going to feel inside, and that fucking kind of worthlessness, and all the myriad of fucking psychological problems that come with getting all this dicking down, that is going to eat away at the relationship and cause a lot of problems, no matter who you are.
Well, yeah, I think the worst problem, or I guess you could say the worst damning of someone, that they could have, the worst more or less of a hell that they could be in, is having misery and a lack of happiness, and never really being able to have what you want, and never understanding why that is. And I'll tell you what, that's what happens, because these women always have safety nets. They always have friends that are going to tell them that they're worth it and they're better and they're awesome. And they may get that one or two friends in their life that's a real friend that'll tell them, hey, you know what? This is bad. You need to, whatever. But for the most part, she's always going to wear kid gloves. She'll always, even the girl who gives her some accountability, she's going to wear kid gloves when she delivers a message. She's still going to be on her team, even when she egregiously, and then that'll skew her opinion anyway and bias her opinion. And she just never has that in some ways those consequences, but they do get the consequence though, because they don't have the happiness that they want and desire. They're in a constant state of dissatisfaction, and they don't understand why, because there's no accountability. Anyone that tells them the reasons why, they don't want to listen, because they can lean on somebody else and a group of people that will tell them how great they are and how right they are. And that's the biggest curse that they have. Some of the biggest things, I would be either dead or maybe a criminal or a bad human being if it wasn't for having nobody to fall back on with mistakes that I've made or bad situations I've been in. You know what I mean? When I'm not I'm a pretty, good person or whatever, but everybody makes mistakes, does bad shit. Everyone is the villain in someone's story at some point, even if it's just this big. And there's times when I've done things that haven't been good, and having nobody to tell me I'm strong and I'm worth it, and you go, boy, and you get back out there. And this is a good thing. Having to sit there with my fuck up and go, all right, man, you know what? I did fuck this up and it hurt this other person or created this bad consequence or whatever. I got to really look into this and find out what's wrong. You know what I mean? That's a gift. That's a gift. And that's where we as men can improve ourselves, really, from that level of accountability. Women have a hard time with this. They have a hard time with that accountability. It really harms them in the long run. You know what I'm saying? And I'll add a couple things too. It's like the biggest thing that women complain about. We'll throw this here first of all. And yeah, you're welcome, dude. We're here to help. Thanks for the Superman. But I'll pause there, John. I don't know if you got anything you want to add there before I keep going on my rants. So I was giving a little pause, but I was just gonna keep going on the rant then. But so stop. The biggest thing that women that women complain about in relationships is complacency, right? So guys, he stops trying, he stops taking care of himself, all this stuff. And that is correlated to his feelings of not being her best and not thinking that not just thinking, knowing that she's had a lot of experiences or had experiences that are better than what he is and maybe could possibly get. So when guys face an existential threat or fear, a lot of guys will ignore and have cognitive dissonance to get through that fear. You know what I mean? They pretend like they don't care. And so sometimes women will see that as an alpha trait, like, oh, I was talking to my ex-boyfriend or did this, that, and the other, but he said, oh, I don't care, So he's like super strong, right? He's super alpha. No, he's not. Actually, he's very weak. He's afraid to face the fact that he might not be this chick's best and he has emotions for her. And so what he does is he has cognitive dissonance. He stops trying. And this is where you see this manifest itself in the bedroom, where dudes, you hear these stories about guys who just won't bang their girls. It's like, how do you not bang your girl? Like, we have a sex drive, we have testosterone. We want to bang all the time. No, he buries himself in porn out in a corner. Why? Because he knows up here, he ain't her best. He knows she's not giving him the message that he's her best, because she treats him like a strong, independent woman treats men, right?
Can you elaborate on that? Because I think that's complex for guys. Like, how could a guy? I think this is really something we need to expound upon.
Yeah, no, it's good.
How can a guy know he is being treated as the best versus, because strong, independent woman could be a myriad of things. You know what I mean?
Of course,
so,
yeah.
So why would a guy be like, okay, I'm gonna just not fuck this bitch because clearly she's not treating me like I'm the best? How would you decipher that?
Yeah, so the idea of cognitive dissonance, it happens with when faced with fear or problems or anxieties that you can't control, and that you don't think you can do anything about. It's also the origin of depression too, right? If you think it's a hopelessness. Me trying to make my woman happy is only going to result in her never really being as happy as she was with somebody else, and then being resentful to me because I'm not that person, or not the person that can make her as happy as someone else. It's not something that guys like, they're not consciously aware of this. They just know that it feels shitty on a deep level. And so to avoid that shitty feeling, it's like, use a different example that I like to, fighting examples are so good when we got John, the other John Fitch here online. It's like, this is why guys don't train how to fight, but they talk about, oh, but if I got mad though, right? Or some bullshit,
I just crazy, man.
Yeah.
I've had women tell me that.
Yes,
because I was a bouncer for a long time. I was like, I'd tell girls, 115-pound women, I'd be like, hey, I'll walk you to your car. It was kind of rough in here tonight. Oh no, I can handle myself. If I get approached, I'll just turn red and they're in trouble. Like, bro,
big trouble, big trouble.
No,
right.
You couldn't break. You couldn't a wet piece. You couldn't put a hole in a wet piece of paper.
Yep.
You ever when you're dating a girl, you ever just like give her a lesson? Like, let me just show you how pathetic you are. And like,
right. You throw her out a window and then you have hide a body. Fucking
just kill him once,
Night last night. I'm just kidding.
No, you ever I always often do this. I always like Muay Thai clinch my girls and like kind of ruffle them up. I don't like hit them or anything, but
right.
I just like show them, because they, sometimes they think they're a little bit too big on their britches, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, it's fun to wrestle around with your girl.
It is fun.
It's a good time, and
that's a good thing with jiu-jitsu. Yeah, you get your girl into some jiu-jitsu. It's fun.
Yeah,
I don't want my girl doing any of this manly ass shit. I want her like going to flower class,
Well, and but that's a great example of we can see it in another way, right? Why do people do that, right? Because an existential threat is being victimized physically, not being able to prevent your own death at the hands of somebody else. So instead of facing that threat head on and facing the fact that you're vulnerable, when you train how to fight, more and more that even if you're one of the best fighters in the world, we got, potentially one of the best, you're one of the best fighters in the world here, Mr. John Fitch, but you also know that somebody can fuck you up. Period. It doesn't take much. You
doesn't take much, especially in an uncontrolled environment. You're out on the street. I can't just walk around not paying attention to what's going on.
No.
It only takes one punch. It only takes one person hit you in the right spot. I don't care if you're a 10-time world champion.
You get clubbed over the head with a chair.
Nagano. If somebody hits Nagano when he's not looking, there's a chance that he gets knocked out. And then what happens after that?
Exactly.
Right? Situational awareness is rule number one.
100%. You realize your own vulnerability. There's a level of now, and then you have to manage, which is fine. When you're a skilled fighter, at least know that and what I tell guys, it's like, you don't need to be the best fighter in the world. You just need to be a threat to anyone in an uncontrolled environment who would cause you harm. You don't need to beat everybody in the cage, but you have to have enough skills where, with a weapon available within an uncontrolled environment, you would be a threat to even someone who is maybe a better fighter than you. But that caused you to face the vulnerability, that caused you to face a fact that you could get taken out. And that's a fact that, is a humbling fact that you have to face. Most people don't want to face that. They want to lie to themselves and think that they could be safe, because that creates a safe world theory for them. So they can walk around and be happy and safe in the world without anxiety. But of course, they're living in a non-reality. And if the reality of their vulnerability ever collides, now you have a serious problem or victim situation, right? Well, the reality, go ahead, John. Right?
Oh, I was just saying, like, I've had people throw at my face, it's like, oh, I wish I could be a guy and walk around at nighttime and feel safe. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't walk around like my head down, and I don't walk around. I have homeless people not far from my house, 100 yards from my house. I could probably find a homeless person. Like, you're not safe. I don't ever
take out a razor blade, and
I'm always looking around over my shoulder. When I get gas, like, people get robbed at the gas station all the time. right? I make sure I got my stuff with me. I look around, I look on both sides of the pump. I'm seeing who's coming, who's going. Like I'm not, and it's not about paranoia. So a lot of people say like, I don't have to live my life when paranoid, don't just look over my shoulder. It's about being in the moment, right?
Being
And you
real,
need that
be
with that,
reality.
whatever you're doing. You need to be in the moment. If I'm getting gas, like I can't just be like focusing on the one thing. I have to, I have to take everything in, if I'm going out and having fun with friends, like I still have to like pay attention to what's going on around me.
Right.
If the mood changes, if body language change, like something's going on, what's going on? You have to be ahead of that curve. And like you're never complacent. You should never feel 100% comfortable unless you're in your house where you've got your guns,
Yeah, right. Sure. Yeah. And so now that is just involving an event that is still a real threat and a concern, but as a low percentage of chance of happening if you aren't in, depending on the level of safety of where you live and stuff, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm not far from San Francisco, so
right. Yeah, right.
There's a lot of possible threat here.
Right. So there's a less of a chance for most people though, in general, for the reality of the lack of safety that they have to collide with their fantasy of safety that they walk around with. Less of a chance. Guys are literally living every single day with the reality of the safety they don't have with a reproductive value. You know what I mean? Colliding with the fantasy, and they don't even see it half the time. When they are hitched up with a girl who doesn't see that guy as the best she can do and treats him transactionally, for example, he is in danger. And there's two ways of handling that. He could learn about what's going on and face the facts and face the fact that he may have to let that girl go and be alone for a while and figure out the dating market and make himself a little better, pick someone else up. But instead of doing that, because of the kids, or because I said magic words in front of, Jesus and got married, or because of this, or because of that, because we got bills together, what ends up happening? They stop trying. They're complacent. They remove, just like people are complacent about their safety, they remove the attention on the relationship. And women will perceive that again, because at first it's perceived as, oh, he just lets me do whatever I want. He doesn't seem to care. He's really secure in himself. No, he has cognitive dissonance, so he doesn't have to face the reality in his deep insecurities. And that translates to not trying, not putting effort in. Because if a guy puts effort into the relationship, knowing that he's going to get results that he's going to have to question, do you know what I mean? This is why guys are, the stereotypical guy that's a doofus that they present out there. That's the doofus who doesn't try, doesn't know how to dress, doesn't know how to treat a woman, doesn't know how to do this. Yeah. Well, going back to notches and going back to experiences, women settling for guys that aren't their best, women running through the marketplace and compromising their ability to pair bond or be a healthy partner, that's creating the exact situation they bitch about. Oh, my husband doesn't fucking do enough. Oh, my partner doesn't try hard enough. They literally create the situation. I hate to use the word manifest because it's not like they just thought of it or whatever, but they create it with their behavior. You know what I mean? They create what they get. And the guys, we create what we get because we accept partners like that. And we refuse to look at the facts or whatever. Not all of us, of course, hopefully not people listening to us right now, but that's what we do, and we make bad decisions and justify the reasons why we're doing it all the time. Yeah. So, so it's interesting.
So going back to that, right? So the girl who's been like Giga ran through, is she just doomed?
No. So the solution to these problems is frame, which is why I focus on it. If she's remained some capabilities, what happens is the experience she has with a partner that she's finally decides to try to be with for a long-term situation, that experience has to be more impacting to her in a number. I lost John Fitch. Hopefully he comes back. I don't know if he said he was leaving or not. But that experience has to be more impacting to her than the previous ones. That's the thing. And so, and then in what categories? The categories are, and this is sort of what deduced from actually people in the counseling world has been written about in like the 80s, but they didn't understand Evo Psych or hypergamy and all that. But the categories, though, that she's selecting with, she has to have the best sexual experiences with this partner, feel that sexual desire, the best a most amount of emotional openness and closeness with this guy, and those two things go hand in hand. Feel, you know what I mean, most emotionally invested into the guy, and then the third one is feel the most secure with that guy as well. And then fourth one is to feel like he would be the best dad she could pick, that he has the best dad qualities. And then the fifth one is that he would be a person that she could trust the most to go off, you know, to that he's not going to drop her for a younger model or just ditch her or whatever, right? That's a legacy partner. And so those are the 5 categories that she needs to feel like she's taking care of the best in. And, you know, if she, hold on here.
I'm reading this chat. They said Paul's frame is solid. MLD's frame is built out of popsicle sticks. Oh, if you only knew. If you only knew.
I don't understand these people. We're all like friends hanging out, and then you got these people like, why don't you two fight? What the fuck?
It's funny, man, because actually, I don't know, getting on the internet, like, you know, communicating with everybody in the community really has opened my eyes to the average guy situation out there. But for me, bro, every girl that I've dated since I was like 19, it was like, you're gonna do things my way, or there's no us. And I don't know if that. I think the good part about me being raised like a fucking feral animal is I wasn't like really my natural masculine instincts weren't, you know, indoctrinated out of me. You know what I mean? They weren't beaten out of me, because I don't have one of these red pill stories like I was a virgin until I was 24, then I read The Rational Male and I became a giga chad. You know, like I was, you know, I was like, I had a girlfriend in middle school, I had a girlfriend in high school. I got brainwashed by the church, so I didn't lose my virginity until I was like 17, but I did lose it at a young age to some like fucking like some model chick that was like, I was at this, it was so sketch. It was like I was at this like private schools party in this is a school called Bishop Moore in Orlando. It's like this rich kid private school.
Yeah.
And I was with this chick, dude. And looking back on it now, I realized how fucked up she was. She was 16. We were at this house party. She was doing coke and she was on birth control.
Oh, hell yeah.
She was 16, you know?
She likes to party.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I fucked her raw for my first experience ever. And then after that, I was like, man, I love pussy. Like I stopped playing video games. I stopped like fucking playing videos. You know, my grades went down and everything. everything was like, get pussy, get pussy. But I think that was a good thing for me, because really moving forward and looking back on my life, there's absolutely no way that I could ever live like these guys who are living, who are afraid to put the women in your frame. The women want to be in your frame. They don't feel safe if they're not in your frame.
Right.
They don't. They don't feel safe at all.
Yep.
They like are walking through life afraid. That's why they latch on to government and they latch on to these political movements and shit in the States, because they are too weak and mentally frail to be on their own.
Yeah.
There's a large majority of them.
Oh yeah. No, it's and it's the frame thing, because what people miss is that hypergamy is subjective to her experience. And so that's the big thing people miss. So they are always like, because guys want to spurg out, right? Like self-included. We're like, well, objectively in data, you know, we're like total like nerding about the data. They're not nerding about data when they're like hanging out with a dude and have the emotions. It's a subjective experience. And the deeper into, and I call it not just being in frame, but being deep into frame, which by the way, is one of the things that's a big topic for the Masculine Empowerment Network. I'll be talking about is how to bring a girl deep into your frame through what I call idealized isolation, where, you know, she sees the boundary between the outside world and her with you, as, further and further out. And so she's deeper into, the experience with you. That's what's going to overcome a bunch of savage stuff and some notches or whatever, if she's capable. Okay. Cause it's just a capability thing. But just because a girl, let's say she railed through 30, 40, 50 guys, doesn't necessarily reverse her capability. It does create toxic patterns. But if she is capable of getting rid of those patterns, she'll be able to do it in your frame and have a more intense, more emotionally stimulating experience, whether with the sex, with the emotions and the draw and the love feelings, with her feelings of feeling safe, secure, with her feelings like she picked a good kind of person. For a good person means dad, okay? With somebody that she can trust enough that'll be by that isn't going to throw her away.
Oh yeah.
When she has those feelings, that overcomes some of her bad behavior. Now, I hate to say that because it's like it's women like to, and people like to think like, oh, I can just keep damaging myself then, and then everything is like, I can just always reverse the damage. Well,
No, you can't.
you
Yeah.
can't, and we don't know when it's reversible because there's a genetic component. So one girl could have gone through, and it also depends on the experiences. So one girl could have been young partying idiot girl, all right, having a bunch of low intensity experiences through a bunch of partners, develops toxic patterns, but is able to overcome it just because she was being an idiot. They were low intensity experiences and a number of factors with her genetic. And you can have another girl who goes through maybe just 10 partners, which is rookie numbers nowadays, but she has some, more emotional difficulty. Her brain's developed a little bit differently. So it processes anxiety and attachment differently. And now she is completely effed with, and who knows, she'll ever come back from that. You know what I mean? Just from putting herself through limited experiences. So we don't know the answer, and girls are arrogant. They think that they know themselves and that they don't know either. It's like, that'd be like me thinking like, I'm not going to get cancer. I know myself, like, dude, you kidding me? This is a physiological process that you can't necessarily control. All you can do is control the stimulus, behavior, and environment so that you don't epigenetically, epigenetics is the environmental stimulus to cause your reactions. You don't cause those reactions, right? Like, I know I can be here's a great example. I know I can be a savage, violent human being. I absolutely know that. I'm not putting myself in situations where I'm going to be a savage, violent human being in the wrong context or circumstance, harm somebody maybe that doesn't deserve it or shouldn't be harmed, and end up in a real problem for myself, right?
Yep.
Prison, whatever, or just being a bad human being.
You
right?
gotta be careful. They may deserve it, and you still have to be careful.
100%. And so that's what I mean about you can control your behavior in the environmental stimulus, so like, I mean, there's a reason, like, I recommend, of course, hitting the dating market and stuff like that, but blowing through a bunch of, I mean, at a point, blowing through a bunch of fives that some of these guys do and bragging about spinning plates is really low hanging stuff. And they're, this fat chick, this pregnant girl, and this fucking single mom, right, that you're spinning, or whatever. And then it's just, you're not leveling your life up. You're taking energy away from what other, having a better life, drop some of these lower value chicks off, be a little bit more selective, force yourself to learn how to do, some of that stuff. Interesting thing, because you talked about too, like American girls being more promiscuous, which is 100% true. What's
real quick, hey Paul, sorry, but I got to get going, so I want to thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, man, thanks for having me on. This is coming out, dude. This is a treat.
I'll check you guys all later.
All right, brother.
For men. All right.
Hell yeah.
For the Men Network.
Love you, John. Peace, buddy.
Later, guys.
See ya. But yeah, just a quick point here is that this has been researched. I'm not sure. I have to look at the efficacy and some of the things about the study that was researched, but basically it was the lesser attractive, like we'd say, like the sixes, you know what I mean? Like 5, 6s and maybe low 7s, if we're going to use a number for it. Those were the most promiscuous. And the hotter 9s and ones with, 9s, 8.5 to 10, right? They had less promiscuity, because the reason being is because the hot girl who's a 9 has a lot of options and knows that her sexual value is something worth protecting.
Mhm.
And so she's a bit more careful and she's a bit more selective. Not to say she just never had a one night stand, not to say she hasn't made those decisions in certain circumstances, but the girl who knows her value and knows she's a 9, she's got more to like, she's got more to risk and lose, and she has all the options in the world. Whereas
Mhm.
a 6, let's say, she doesn't, in order for her to compete with a 7, 8, 9, she has to throw her vagina around.
Yeah.
She has to throw her sexual availability around. She has to be, funny, joking about her sex life all the time. Or she
Yeah.
has to be out there talking trash about sex stuff to make
Mhm.
herself seem more valuable. Well, I think that's instituted itself on a cultural level now here in the United States, that a lot of women act ratchet in order to try to increase their value, because really they don't see that they could be a valuable chick that's a 9
Mm.
or 10. If she took care of herself better, wasn't acting like an idiot, and didn't behave like an idiot, she'd actually be of a higher value. You know what I mean? And I think a lot
Mhm.
of girls in places like Japan and Europe and different places, not Western Europe necessarily, but Eastern Europe, like, they know that they can bring value to the table. And then when they see themselves as, oh shit, like, I'm really need to treat myself like a 9, they're not
Mhm.
as promiscuous. I'm not saying they're not promiscuous, because we're all promiscuous, but they're not racking up numbers and bad, nasty experiences that are going to mark them later for bad, for relationships. Anyway,
It really does fuck them up, you know? I mean, there's no question about it. Like, the more dick a woman takes, the more fucking problems it brings to the relationship and brings to them. Like I said, I said it once and I say it again. You never see a guy in his 40s or late 30s sitting there crying like, oh, I fucked like 200 girls in my lifetime, I feel so dirty, I need the blood of
no,
Jesus to cleanse me, help me,
no,
crying at the altar. He's
right.
happy on a boat somewhere.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
And
Well, that's because, guys, our value isn't that, that's not the greatest. You do see guys crying over the commitment they gave up to the wrong chick, right? Because
yeah,
our value isn't that. Whereas a
that's
girl's
different.
value,
Yeah, that's different.
oh yeah, but where a girl's value though isn't, like you're saying, in her sexual, what she's giving up sexually is her value, and so she gives that out like to whoever, whenever, doesn't care. It's like she just devalued herself. It's like these chicks don't even realize. You know what I mean?
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
What would you say to this? Okay, I'm gonna kind of play a little bit of devil's advocate here. So let's say you are dating a girl. She's been ran through, right? And a guy says, well, just make sure your dick game is the best ever. Then that'll silence the insecurity within you. And they'll call you insecure, saying, like, oh, you're insecure because this girl's been ran through and you're like, you're not man enough to handle her
Yeah.
past
This is a
or
good
some shit.
question, actually.
Like, what would you say to that? Because that's a common shaming tactic, and I
Yes.
do believe just shaming tactics in general are kind of losing their power, because guys are, I think men in general are just not really respecting women more and more, because quite frankly women are acting like pigs, and modern women
Right.
are acting like disrespectful pigs. Like, you and I, we can't go around like being like, fuck you, Paul, you have a small dick, or
Right.
you're an incel. We go around like that, talking to men like that, you're gonna get fucking shot. You're gonna get
Yeah.
your
Right.
ass whooped.
You get punched in the
You're
face.
gonna get bottled in the fucking club talking like that.
Right.
So they can't go around just being these insufferable cunts for much longer, because dudes, before, there used to be a tolerance, and tolerance is the beginning of the downfall. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But these younger kids, look, this is why I love the Black Pill movement and I love the MGTOW movement, because at least these dudes are fed up with these hoes shit.
Yep.
At
Yeah.
least they're fed up. It's progress.
There's some progress there for sure, in a sense, well, I will say, so you should be upping your sex game, because that's what you're doing for yourself.
Mhm.
Because when you up your sex game, you have more enjoyable experiences in the bedroom. And then with the partner that you have a good connection with and all that, that's a better experience you both get to share together, right? That's the reason for upping your sex game, not to try to defeat an army of dicks that she decided to take on by herself before you met her. That is not the reason for it.
Right.
And the thing is, yeah, it's a shaming tactic that you can't care about.
What would you say to somebody who's like, well, just get your dick game up, bro? Like, why are you so insecure about it? Like, what would you say? Like, as that is the solution, like increase
Yeah,
your
so I just shrug my
consistency.
shoulders, and it's like I mean, really, it's like it's not my job to overcome someone who's literally put garbage inside their pussies. Like, it's like, I'm sorry, like, if I'm not garbage, so if she spent her, formative years putting garbage in her vagina, like, why do I want to now play in that and try to win that over? I'll just go with a different girl. It's pretty simple. Like, that's not my job to overcome all of her damage that she did to herself. And this isn't just sexually, this is everything else.
Yeah.
I will literally just find another girl. It's not worth that to me. Now, we're talking psychological damage. Well, I mean, if she's working on her shit and she's a good partner to me and all that, yeah, sure, I'll be patient with that kind of stuff. I'm not saying you just treat people disposable, but it comes a point where if they're not a good match for you, if she can't see me as the sexual best with me being a high amount of sexual skills, that's not my problem. That's actually her problem.
Yeah.
Because it's almost like saying, how come you can't create, some really fun experiences to overcome somebody who's been railing heroin into their veins for the last 10 years? Hold on. It's not, if you've been railing heroin into your veins for the last 10 years and screwing up your neuroreceptors and your ability to enjoy just sitting down and having a nice conversation, that is not anybody else's responsibility of fixing but that individual. And it's a tragic thing because people literally do, like serious addicts with stuff like opiates. I mean, they're walking around in pain all day trying to sort of manage that. There's no magical person that's going to come in, or magical roller coaster ride or event or anything that's going to get them to overcome the damage they've done to themselves psychologically and neurologically. It's not my job to help it, to cause it. There's no magical penis that's going to cause a girl to overcome her psychological problems or her sexual dysfunctions. If your dick game is really good, you're good with a woman's body, you can last long. Fuck, even if you just can last long and and keep a heart on and all that good stuff, she can do the work too for herself to get herself in a happy place to start off with at the very least. If you can't, if that's not, you're not able to overcome her damage, that's not your problem. You don't have a magic dick. Nobody has the magical penis. And these guys think this. They get in it with BPD women and this is how they become victims. We become victims as men because of our own stupid ass egos, dude. This is what screws us over. We walk into it and we think, with the power of my magical penis, I'm going to just change this chick's toxic behavior.
Yep.
No, you're not. Okay? You're not. It's you can be the best dude she's ever been with and you'll not change her behavior. It doesn't matter. She won't even recognize it. It's like somebody who you hand the keys to your Ferrari to, and then they hit the curbs a few times, crash some sharp shopping carts into it, fill it with McDonald's wrappers. They can't even perceive the quality of the thing that they're driving around. These girls, they've run themselves through so much that they cannot perceive the value you bring. You know what I mean? And I'm not talking every girl, of course, but I'm talking to girls who have done that. And so it's not your job as men to overcome her psychological problems with your magic penis. It's your job to pick somebody who has a handle of what her problems are. You're not going to find someone problem free because we all have problems, but she has a handle on her stuff and should be a good partner to you, and isn't so damaged that she can't be at a point where she sees you as the best she could do, and it's just not. And some of the stuff too, man, I'm kind of on a rant a little bit, but that's fine. Some of the stuff too is like, it's there's a genetic chemical component. So some girls, and we've all experienced this as men, You might be out with a girl who's super hot. Everybody's like a head turner,
Mhm.
but your chemistry with her, you just don't feel like you have good sex with her. You're having fine time, but you don't feel like that level of intensity that you might feel for somebody else who isn't as, by everyone else's standards, the head turner. But to you, she's a head turner because you got to ask yourself, why does that happen? Well, because we have genetic components inside of ourselves that are made to sense a mate and sense if I had a baby with this person, that would be a more survivable, strong baby. Maybe the chick that is by everyone else's standards higher S&V, quote unquote, her traits that show up behaviorally down to scent, they've deduced it down to our olfactory senses. They're just demonstrating that if I have a baby with her, it's not going to be as survivable of a baby as I would with this other girl who doesn't quite turn the heads in the same way. It's not going to be a great, huge difference in S&V. It's not going to be I really want to bang this 2, but I have this 8 and I'm unsatisfied. But it's going to be, in a narrower window for sure. There's those differences. And so you could just be with a girl that isn't as chemically matched for you. There's no dick game that's going to overcome that. It's just genetics. That'd be like me showing up and going, man, how come I can't defeat these NBA players in basketball with my 21-inch neck and my no jumps? Like, come on, dude. Like, there's genetic components here. I could start learning basketball right now and get trained and get halfway decent, but I'm never going to be genetically right? A basketball player. Like, some of these guys are just they're a better fit for that sport. But I bet you those guys are probably not going to exceed, 600 pounds on their squat. You know what I mean? And for repetitions, you get what I mean? And so you can make yourself the best. And sometimes you're just not a match. And you can't be mad about that. You can't be upset about that. Can't cry about that and make that about you and let your ego cause you to invest in a woman. It's just not a good match. At the end of the day, whether she's damaged, whether she's a good chick, but isn't it just not there, whether it just fucking rejects you because she doesn't see you like that, it doesn't matter. You just got to be like, cool, wasn't for me, and you move on. It's not a statement of your value. You know what I mean? Your statement of value is a culmination of things that lead to your accomplishments, not one person's opinion or reaction. And so guys need to let their ego go, bag that shit, not care about it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I don't know if
Yeah.
that answers.
I think too, like, it does make a lot of sense. Like the trying, I don't know. I think a lot of guys who do like try to save a girl or help a girl, I think they come from a position of good heart.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. They
Yeah.
do. It's a
then-
good quality to want to help another person.
Yeah, but then the thing is, you have to fucking. The only way you're gonna realize it doesn't work is by trying to help her.
Right.
You know, because it's just a drain on you. You know, one of the best relationship I ever had, like it was comical, but like we would constantly ask each other, "You okay? You okay?" Like that's just like mutually. Like at one time, we both like said to each other, we stopped. It was Nate. We looked at each other. "You okay?" We said at the same time, and we just smiled and laughed. Because we genuinely did care about it. We still do care about each other, right? And it's good. It's not like alpha to be like, oh fuck my bitch, I'm gonna oppress her. I hate this bitch. I'm gonna max out her credit cards and like fuck her best friend. Like
Yeah,
gonna
right.
prove dominance at all times. Like it doesn't work like that.
No.
But the
Just
point I'm
being a
trying to make,
shitbag,
yeah, exactly. It's not good. But the point I'm trying to make is it's kind of commonplace to be saying this, but you can't be a Captain Save-A-Ho.
Right.
Because it's just extremely hard. Extremely hard. And honestly, they have to do the work themselves, and it's a long, arduous process. I mean, even in the Bible, it says, this is one of my favorite scriptures. In Proverbs, it says, like a dog returns to his vomit, so a fool returns to his folly.
Yeah.
And what that means is like, no matter what kind of person you're dealing with, after you get done with her, she's gonna go back to her old hoe ways. She's gonna go back to her old bullshit ways. Like when I was dating the Chinese feminist girl, right?
Mm.
She gave up the feminism. She was given the ghost for me, but then it came to a part where I needed her to level up and, you know, do better as a girlfriend, and she didn't want to do it. And I was just like, all right, bitch, we'll kick the curb. See you later. Now she's back on that feminist tick, like, men are shit, rah 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 rah.
Sure.
You know, they like, again, a dog returns to his vomit, so a fool returns to his folly. And honestly, you guys can't, like, you guys are all idealists, and I respect you, and I'm an idealist too. I'm trying to save everybody, to be honest with you. I know Paul's like that too. We both have big hearts,
Oh yeah.
but you know, the thing is, you can't save everybody, and some people you just have to let go and watch them destroy themselves. It's dark and evil, but it's just, that's the reality of life. It's straight up truth.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You know what I mean? And that's what it is. And this is a very interesting concept. I talk about too, with the difference between compliance, um, understanding, and agreement. You
Yeah.
know, when we talk about frame stuff,
Mhm.
I'm going to talk about this at a masculine empowerment network in a deeper level and how to recognize the difference.
Mhm.
Now, for frame and for her to stick by you and all that, you're really not going for agreement. You're going for compliance, where guys will screw this up, you know, because they end up placating to her to try to get her to understand, see his point of view, and accept his point of view, instead of saying, hey, here's the way that it is. Here's the action plan. Here's what we're doing. Listen to her. I hear what you're saying. I understand your point of view. Okay, cool. Here's what we're doing. And you just want her to comply. Compliance is a demonstration of frame. Now, from compliance, often what will happen is, now that she's doing this thing that maybe she didn't agree with before, she's doing it. So she has to try to understand why she's doing it. And that may start off with not agreement yet, but understanding, like, well, I'm not on social media as much. My boyfriend doesn't like it, but you know, I understand why he doesn't like it. I'm not that way, but I'm just doing it. Like, that's how that would be the framework. Right. But then that can transform into agreement, which is like, you know what? I'm not on social media like the way I used to be because it's not good for a relationship. Like, she's literally repeating what you're
Mm.
saying. And so that's how you know that she's deeper into your frame. But some girls will stay just in compliance, and they're not really ever moving to agreement with things because their character is flawed. And so
Yeah.
this is what you want to look at when you're dealing with a woman during the dating process: is what is her character? More
Yeah.
particularly, does she have principles outside of that are not purely emotionally driven?
Does this
Meaning,
bitch have integrity?
yeah, yeah. Like, is her integrity a
Situational.
situational, right, based on her emotions, or does
Mhm.
she have integrity based on principle? Like, for
Core
example,
beliefs. Yeah.
right. And so these are the things you want to look for, because a girl who is situationally respondent and not an unprincipled, she's the one who won't make any real permanent changes. She'll even be in agreement with you in the relationship, and then she'll be back into being a feminist, for example. Once the relationship's over, she'll fall back to an old paradigm that she's familiar with that worked. And so they're not substantial changes. And then what'll happen is, often during the relationship, they'll fall out of their framework once the emotional buy-in is changes, or some of the things change. You can't have somebody who is going to change the boundaries that they're abiding by, or the standards that they're abiding by, based on their feelings. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
If they have a bad feeling about it, they still do what the thing is because of their principles, and then maybe they deal with it. Hey, I need to talk to you. I'm not feeling right about something. Whatever. That's a healthy person, and that's a character thing that she has to bring to the relationship. You're not going to fix that with your magic penis. You know what I mean? You're not gonna fix that with all the frame and game skills in the world. And so,
Could
yeah,
for the optimists out there, can this woman develop an integrity, and can they develop a core of values that are not rooted in whoredom and deception?
yeah. And they once they see another way, they can choose to accept it, move into an understanding and agreement, and then change their principles. But they have to be principled to begin with. So maybe they have a lack of principles or the wrong principles,
Yeah.
but if they make decisions on principle and not just on emotion, that's what you're looking for. So this is why a measure of a good, capable partner is delaying gratification. So
Oh,
big
that's
one.
deep. That's deep.
Yep. Because when they
Why is that? Why would you say that is because
because if they're
I
delaying
can
gratification, yeah, they're working on principles versus their immediate emotions to get what they want. And so that's a
mm,
big one. It's also a marker of higher intelligence. So I used to think back in the day, right, when I'm just cycling, when just having fun, I didn't care if the girl was smart or not, right? Like it's like she can be a dumb broad, she's hot, whatever, it's cute. No, that changed as I would get into looking for a long-term relationship and
oh my God.
preferring more of a consistent partner. A girl who's not smart enough and lower on the IQ scale is going to fall to whatever her hindbrain instincts are or her emotions. And then she's always susceptible and she's not principled. And you can measure this based on, can they delay gratification? Do they go, are they somebody who's always going to say yes and party with their goofy friends? Or is she the one saying, no,
Mhm.
I'm trying to achieve this thing. I'm trying to get this, degree, or I'm trying to do this thing. And then it's not about the degree. Like we're not going to fuck their degree, but it's the ability to delay gratification and get something that they want down the line. And there's not an immediate reward there. And so you want to look for that as a high trait because that means she operates on principles. This is somebody who can stay faithful to you. This is somebody who is, even when she's mad at you, not going to do shit to harm you. Right. Whereas the
Okay.
girl who doesn't have the ability to delay gratification and she won't operate on principles. And so now she's mad at you, she's upset, and she keys your car, slashes your tires, or this is where that shit happens. Oh, I just got mad, and it's your fault because you did this. That's some bullshit. You need to exit out of your life. Yeah. Yeah. So it's an interesting shit, man. I love it. But yeah, we're gonna talk about this more in your masculine empowerment network for sure. I want to get you on.
Yeah.
I gotta go run to a social event, but you want to tell everybody about that real quick so we can promote it because your channel got shut down temporarily.
Yeah. No, it's just basically it's the Masculine Empowerment Network is basically if you enjoyed this conversation here with me and Paul, you could basically come be part of it. The Masculine Empowerment Network is it's a network of men who are coming together to solve all their problems that men have. If you're broke, we're going to show you how to get more money. And we pride ourselves on getting all men to $100,000 a year. Okay. If you are fat, we're going to show you how to lose weight. If you're getting no women, we're going to show you how to get women. We're going to show you how to get a bunch of pussy so you can get sick of it and grow out of that initial like thirst stage that a lot of like majority of men are stuck in. We're going to teach you how to get a bunch of pussy so you can either get the girl that you want or have a bunch of chicks and then eventually
Do whatever you
move
want.
on.
Yeah, do
Yeah,
whatever you want.
we're just going to
Choices
give
are
you,
yours.
it's called the Masculine Empowerment Network for a reason. We're going to empower you so you have the choice. So you're no longer a slave. You don't have to eat the fucking the crumbs from the tables of the Chads and the Tyrones, right? In addition to that, we put it there. There's a secured Telegram chat where there's like 170 something plus people in there right now. And you can come communicate with us and say, look, these are my problems. Hey, take a screenshot. This is what the girl looks like. This is what she's texting me. What do I say? What do I do? What does this mean? Hey, I think my girlfriend's cheating on me. This is happening. This is happening. This is happening. How do I find out? Little things like this, right? We have a whole network of men put together helping you. You get access to my course, Body Language Mastery, right? And you are able to understand if a woman is sexually interested in you or not just by looking at her body language, right? In addition to that, you'll also will be able to fucking get into webinars that are happening in January. So let me just give you an example of what the webinars are right here, because you can take a look at this on the screen right here. Hold on, let me see. I gotta press the share button. 2 seconds. Right there. Okay. Just let me know when it's up, Paul.
Yep.
So this is the schedule. We go twice a day, 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay. And what we do is we go ahead and we have these webinars. The webinars are very simple. The first half of the webinar is the presenter giving their presentation. And then the second half is open Q&A for all the members in the chat to ask these presenters how to solve the problems you have. If you're not getting a lot of chicks, we got a game Q&A here with Offie Kingdom. Okay, if you want to know how to be more physically attractive, you want to look smacks, that's me, MLD, right here. Paul here on the stream with me, Apex Mindset. We'll talk about idealized isolation, the secret to owning her mind. This will cheat proof your relationship and make sure your woman is completely under your control. We have all kinds of things here. James Tusk and Troy Francis will be doing day and night game Q&A, talking about that. I mean, everything you want. Money Muscles Game Frame. We got it all sorted out here on the Masculine Empowerment Network. All you need to do is just go to masculineempowermentnetwork.com, sign up, or if you're on Paul's email list, he's going to be sending out a link, and you can
there's a
him.
link down below too.
Link down below
in the description. So just get on there. You guys will have access to the course and sign up that way. And
yep. And that's what we got going on. So here's the thing that you can only get in until August 1st at 11:59 p.m.
All right.
At midnight, it's closed and you can't get in, and there's no more getting in because we have to start the webinars on August 2nd.
Right.
So that's what we got going on. I'd recommend you guys get in. We have like more than a dozen plus people signed up right now, and enrollments are going to keep on going.
Yep.
I'll be back on YouTube soon, hopefully. I think I'll be back by Monday. We'll see.
Yeah, that'll be good, but
and I'll be doing my stream until then. And
right,
you can see I'm a hardworking man. It's 4:30 a.m. in Tokyo. The sun's coming up. My autofocus is tricking out right now.
Yeah. Well, we'll let you get some rest, man. But yeah, I was happy to have you on. I wanted to do that, because it's a good network, and I wanted opportunities to bullshit and have a really good conversation for everybody. But also, I think it's a good offer for people that need to. And I wouldn't be a part of it if it wasn't good. So yeah. So it'll be legit, man. All right.
Thanks so much.
All right, everybody, enjoy the rest of your day, or morning or evening, wherever, depending on whatever part of the world you're in. All right. Peace out.